very Alex Hormozy style. And I was like, wow, this is like probably the worst model I've ever experienced. So if you are a good business builder, you will get money eventually. If you are a bad business owner with bad habits, nothing will ever fucking work for you. Ever. When you bet on yourself, it's you. So if you lose, it's on fucking you. But if you win, it's on you too. So it's much more fun. So it was like really, really cool trying to not be the niche guy. Instead, just be the guy. Like my job is to do advertising, not be a chiropractor, not be a doctor, not be a dentist. Like all those things that I did in my tiny little market somehow became like an industry standard.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another interview. Excited to be here, not in my normal setup. To confront the one, the only Jeff Miller,
That's good.
who has been highly requested for many good reasons. And I've also been looking forward to this interview because Jeff says it how it is. That's the only way to put it. Jeff, how are you, man?
This is gonna be like the worst interview ever. Everyone's gonna be disappointed so quickly. Everybody.
Yeah, I did talk you up a little bit too much, I think. So we'll see.
That's funny.
Okay, so the first time I heard you kind of talk in person was at the High Level Summit, like the first one. And you said that you were known as the Miami Facebook ads guy.
Yeah, way back in the day, that was my jam. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we get into today's episode, I'm super excited to share with you a little bit about one of our sponsors on the podcast today, Riverside. If you are a content creator or a podcaster and you're tired of your recordings with guests who sound like they're speaking with you through a tin can, then Riverside is for you. We've all been there. You're ready to do the interview. You've got your questions ready. Your guest is all set to go, and then your internet connection is unstable message, ruins the entire recording. With Riverside, you can get rid of those internet issues and choppy audio and have clean sounding recordings effortlessly. You see, the interesting thing about Riverside is that they record each part of the episode locally on that person's device, and then they upload it to the cloud, so you make sure not to miss anything, even if it's the other person's fault. And by the way, this episode was actually recorded on Riverside, so you can see the quality firsthand. But that's not all. Riverside's amazingly user-friendly interface is super easy to use, which allows you to spend less time troubleshooting technical difficulties and editing your podcast, and instead spend more time speaking with amazing guests and getting recognized for your valuable content. It can be used for podcasts, video interviews, video marketing, panel discussions, talking head presentations, and live broadcasting. And not only does it just record all of those things, it has a ton of other built-in features that make it a no-brainer for podcasting and video. Things like AI transcriptions, editing a video by removing text, AI clips, captions, and an awesome short-form video editor built right in. And they even recently came out with a feature that auto edits the long silences out of your podcast to the perfect length. It really is your all-in-one online video and podcast studio. And if you need more convincing, Gary Vee, Guy Raz, and Ali Abdaal all use Riverside for their content and podcasts. But the very best part is that I've teamed up with them to get you guys 50% off any plan. And to get that discount, all you have to do is click the link below and enter the code It's Keaton at checkout. Thanks so much, Riverside, for sponsoring this episode. And with that said, let's get started.
So you started out just kind of like local ads for whatever niche, right? How did it, like, what's the origin story of Jeff Miller?
Well, back in the day, everyone was like, pick a niche. And it turns out everybody keeps saying pick a niche, right? Mm-hmm. So I'd pick a niche and it didn't fucking work. And then I'd pick a different niche, and then all the success was another niche. And then I'd pick another niche, and then I could see all the opportunity in the other niche. I was like, this is like the worst way for me to live my life. Like, I've never been a fan of quote unquote picking a niche because it eventually triggers your eyeballs to go see the opportunity elsewhere. So I tried picking a niche. And I was like, this sucks ass. Okay. Like, I absolutely hate this. And then when I tried to pick a niche, the natural next step was me saying I'm an expert in plumbing, doctoring, chiropractoring, all that stuff, right? So the doctors and the plumbers and chiropractors will say, well, if you're the expert in my business, right? Well, what about X, Y, Z, 1, 2, and 3? And I'm like, I don't fucking know answers to that. I'm not an expert in your business. They said, but you were the niche. I was like, oh, motherfucker. So it was like a trap. It was like an unoptimized trap that may or may not have worked, but it was not a good first step. Like, it felt like I was declaring my major too early in the game, that type of thing. So I stopped doing that. And instead I said, I'm just going to be the king of my tiny mountain in Miami. I'm going to do everything I can to be the Facebook ads guy for people in Miami. And I'm going to do stuff for myself like I would do for a client. I'm going to meet people in person. I'm going to run advertising. I'm going to do branding. I'm going to do all that fun stuff. And, sooner or later I'll run into somebody that will be like, oh, I've seen you on the internet, let's talk type of thing. And so I did that and it fucking worked. And I'd shoot these 90-second long videos in our studio. And it was me and a camera guy or whoever just showed up that day. And it would be like, hey, everybody, my name is Jeff, and there's 3 things you didn't know about blank. 1, 2, and 3, and then that's it. That's the whole fucking thing. And I was so bad at it, it took me a whole week to get one done. All right. And then it took
Blank
like
being
30
like
takes.
something to do about advertising, right?
Correct. Yeah. So like,
Okay.
here's 3 things you didn't know about retargeting, or 3 things you didn't know about
Okay.
following up, or that type of stuff, right? And it should be related to what you do and how you do it, right? And then the interesting part is most people get way too technical that it's just boring. I was like, I got to figure out a better wording in the language, right? So the first time it took a week. Second time it took 5 days. Third time it took 3 days. And after a while, I started getting good at it and writing the scripts. And I could start pumping these suckers out like once a day, every day. I was like, this is fucking cool. And then the most interesting part was run them as an ad. It'd be a video ad. And then people would see me on the street going, hey, I saw your ad. Like, this is what it's fucking like. This is the fucking jam, right? Holy shit. And then I had friends or associates or whoever that was like, can I sell for you? I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. And then they would say, oh yeah, this is the guy in the ad. And then the client would be like, oh, I've seen your ad before. I was like, yeah, advertising works. So it was like really, really cool trying to not be the niche guy, instead just be the guy. Like my job is to do advertising, not be a chiropractor, not be a doctor, not be a dentist, not be an expert in land clearing, right? What the fuck is that? How am I going to be an expert at that? So instead of just trying to do that, I just said, I'm doing it for myself. So I just started running my shop, imagining I was my own client. Like, how would I drum up business for this guy named Jeff? And I was like, let's get you on camera. Let's get you on front. Let's nail your script. And let's just build out some video views. And eventually somebody somewhere will like come over and say hi. And then we got so good at it, we did it as a service. So we would sign on a client for like Facebook ads or the wallet out, ready to buy button the seat customer campaign, which is what we're charging anywhere between $2,000 and $10,000 a month for. And part of it would be them talking on camera. And they sucked at it so much that one day I was like, fuck this shit, I'm just going to do it myself. So I took the script, I put on their shirt, and I became their CMO. And one of them was a bike shop in Miami. And that ad is still running 5 years later. It's got like 700,000 views on YouTube. And every time I visit my sister, somebody's like, aren't you the bike guy? And I'm like, I am the bike guy. Yeah.
Hey guys, just jumping in here to give you a quick word on our sponsor High Level before we get back to the interview. If you don't know already, High Level is the top sales and marketing solution for any business, but particularly agency owners or anybody that needs a software product to resell to their existing customer base. It has everything you need to capture, nurture, and close leads for marketing clients. And the best part is High Level believes in not taxing the agencies on its platform, so you can get unlimited clients for one low flat monthly fee. The best features include a CRM, funnel, website and email builders, course hosting platform, robust marketing automation builder, a consolidated chat stream with WhatsApp, email, SMS, Instagram DMs, and Facebook DMs, reputation management, social media posting, tracking and analytics, and so much more. And as if that wasn't enough, High Level is fully white labeled, meaning that you can take the platform and put your own brand on the desktop and mobile app and resell it to your industry for whatever price you want. Essentially, what High Level has done is brought the bar for starting a software company way lower, so normal people like you and I can help our clients with an amazingly robust software without paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in development costs. I am not kidding when I say hands down, High Level is my favorite software of all time. It has been integral to my success with my agency. It helped me increase my clients' results and retention, and I use it every single day for my own business. And if you sign up for High Level today, not only will you get a 30-day free trial, which is not available on their website, but you'll get all of the bonuses listed at itskeaton.com/mastermind, which gets you support, templates, and courses to kickstart your High Level journey and get those first few clients or scale to your next few clients. If you're already a High Level customer, you can also get all of those bonuses by upgrading to the next highest plan underneath my link. Instructions for that are also at itskeaton.com/mastermind.
But that's how we got started. It was really like eschewing, I don't know, like saying goodbye to like all the correct senior level stuff, and instead finding something that was correct for my freshman level stuff. And that was all about just trying to get clients and build up face and get something up and running. Because at the end of the day, I think the marketing game is about building assets. And one
Mm.
of those assets is a brand, another one is experience. But if I could spend 2 hours and come out with a video I could leverage forever, that feels a lot better than spending 2 hours sending a whole bunch of cold DMs. So that's what I started to do. And to this day, I still have this philosophy of like just build more assets.
Yeah.
And it just works. But that all started way back in the day when I was like, I can't be the Facebook ads guy of New York based electricians. It's not gonna fucking happen, right? But I could be the Facebook ads guy for myself. So that's
Yeah.
how we all got started. And a lot of those videos are still up and running to this day. So
Love
yeah,
it. What year was that?
yeah, man. Gotta be in 2018. Easy.
Okay.
Yeah. And
And
you can
that,
go back on
I
my
mean,
personal page and you can see like the videos, when we launched them, how we did them, all that stuff. Um, but it still runs. They still work. They're still viable, which is insane.
mhm,
Like imagine shooting a video that still runs 5 years later, but that's what we're doing.
yeah. So your first coaching program must have been like a year after that, right? Like the stop working your ass off thing.
Yeah, the inner circle version one that we launched, I was so damn hesitant about that. Like this was the first time I really felt unqualified or
Mm,
imposter syndrome or something like that. Because I was really only highlighting what I had done, not all the failures along the way. And for every 10 failures, there's one success. So we don't mention the other nine, right? And so I wrote that post, and then people were like, "I'm interested." I was like, "You're all a bunch of fucking liars. Like, I know you're not. Like, you're just lying." And they're like, "No, no, I'm serious. Here's your credit card." And I was like, "What? Like, you would pay for this?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "This is absolutely insane." So it really broke my brain. But leading up to that launch of that first coaching program and the paid program, and somebody paying me for Zooms, right, and scripts and stuff like that,
hmm
we had four, maybe five clients, each paying between $2,000 and $10,000 a month. Depending upon the month, we were doing anywhere between 30 and 40, sometimes $50,000 a month. And it was me and a part-time virtual assistant, and sometimes another part-time virtual assistant. So it was really just like Jeff and like one employee,
hmm
right? And yeah, I was working, but I was making investment banker money. I was in charge of my own journey. I was like, this is fucking awesome, right? Um, I had pitched what's called the Wallet Out Ready to Buy Button Seat Customer Campaign,
hmm
which was a program, or I mean, it was just a drawing, right, on the whiteboard. Um, but I had pitched that and drew it out when I worked at Intel, and we were trying to figure out the problems with what we call the chasm of death. So a lead would come in, and then nothing would happen in like 3, 4, or 5 days. And then something would pick up, and we're like, where the fuck is this happening? It was like a very Lean Six Sigma problem. So I remember going to a whiteboard, putting my headphones, and just jamming out, trying to like write out all this stuff. Felt like I was a fucking mathematician discovering calculus, right? And so I wrote all that stuff out, and that was the version one of my Wallet Out created by Button Seat customer campaign. And then I didn't know the name for it, so I paid a guy named John Logar money. And I started watching a lot of Neil Patel. I'm pretty sure Neil Patel is doing like $1 million a day now. It's insane.
mm
And he used a languaging called Wallet Out Rated by Customers. I was like, that's the fucking word right there. Like, that's it. That's my jam. So that became the collection of programs and steps and tools and processes I was running in aggregate to charge $2,000 to $10,000. And what I decided to do was every time a customer came in, I turned my webcam around, clicked record, and recorded the pitch, good, bad, or ugly. And every time I ended that call, or sorry, ended that in-person pitch, I would stop recording and rewind it and John Madden myself. And my goal was to find one thing that I should have done differently or better. And
mm
after doing it 5 or 10 times, I discovered uh, that I should be asking a series of questions like a doctor should be to preamble my program. So I was asking questions like, how many leads are you generating? What's your conversion rate? Um, if somebody comes back, how often do they come back and what do they buy? When you pick up the phone, what's the script? What's your bribe to get people to come in? And after a while, I end up with this bank of like 20, 30 questions, right? And when somebody came in, this is the following. This is the sales process. They had seen my face on the internet before with the video view ads, right? they had met me or somebody who knew me at a chamber of commerce, or like a salesperson that had like a referral thing. They spoke highly about me. They came in, I asked them a series of questions, I recorded the video. And then at the end of the questions, like their numbers are so clearly bad, or they didn't know the numbers, I would use languaging like, well, Mr. Johnson, based upon these numbers, I'm pretty sure I can meet or beat these suckers. Would you like to see how our program works, how much it costs, and how soon you get started? They almost always said yes. And then I would pitch my program. And as I was pitching my program, I would make sure that the squares I was drawing out lined up and made sense and were pointed to their problems. So for example, I would say, look, Mr. Johnson, running ads on the internet is kind of like going to the gym. You can do everything right in the gym, but the second you eat 2 hot dogs outside of the gym, what happens? They go, I was like, exactly. So we think it's all about the ad, but it's all the stuff outside of the ad. So to start off, we're going to do customer research, and that would just blow them out of fucking water. It's like, we're going to ask your future customers about their needs, wants, fears, and goals. And they're like, that's insane, Ryan Levac style. And then I would say, this is specifically to solve the problem that I mentioned earlier that you brought up, because you don't know what you should be selling. And they're like, oh, right? So customer research. And then the Facebook ad had the break a habit over offer, something that was worth stopping, worth activating, or worth taking action on, and worth breaking a habit over offer. And then we had the thank you page and the landing page and the CRM and the follow-up sequences and all that stuff. And at the end of it, like, they'd come on board for 2K to 10K. So when I had probably like 15 to 20 of those pitches, when I had nailed that sucker, I was going live about it all the time going, how are you guys not closing deals? Like, I don't see why this should be a problem for everybody. Started doing lives. At one point, we had like 80 people on the live. And then they go, Jeff, when's your paid program? And I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, just do it. It's like, all right, fine. Right? I know you're all liars, but we'll fucking try it anyway. And we did it. And I launched the Inner Circle at 997. We must have had 30 people. And that broke my brain. Yeah, that was absolutely insane. So that's how we launched it. That post is still there. It's me in a shooting parachute with like a boat pulling you from the Bahamas, something like that. Mm-hmm. But it's still there, and it's been a crazy journey.
You launched it on the parachute.
Yeah, exactly, like with a laptop. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. No, it was a picture. That was the post.
Okay.
But yeah, that was the post. Yeah, that would have been crazy though. Yeah. Hey guys, I'm live from my parachute with the knowledge behind me, right? No, it was a picture, and then we had like 6 or 7, maybe 8 bullet points, and that was the start. And that program ran for 5 years, which was a whole other bag of cats before we shut it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to get into that, but how did you get in? When did you start the agency and why? 2018.
Started the agency. Yeah. I started with a curious student. Dan Henry told me to do that. I bought his program. It was like my coming out, saying like, hey, I do ads now type of thing.
Mm-hmm. But you were in the corporate world at that point?
No, I had been fired at that point. I was like, this is it. We're done. Ericsson went through a bunch of layoffs. Couldn't get my old job at Intel. I just graduated, got my MBA from Washington, St. Louis. And I remember on my 30th birthday, I was flying from Miami back to Portland, Oregon, and I had turned 30 on that flight trying to get my old job back at Intel, right? Like, that was a fucking low point, right? So I'd been fired. Everything was gone. We're done. Living in my parents' spare bedroom. This is all true. You can ask them. And at 30, I was like, oh, fuck me. Like, I'm living in my parents' house now. Which is crazy to think, like, everything has changed since. And that's where it was me and a very old MacBook Air. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with my life? And my dad, who ran a newspaper company, said, you're going to work for me. And I was like, fuck that idea. But then I ended up working for him. It's like, I got nothing else to do. So I sat in his back office in the old cubicles all the way in the basement, scratching my head trying to figure out this whole thing. And I remember the only skill set I had that I was comfortable with was building WordPress websites. So I started building that out. And then one of his friends was like, I need a website. And Dad was like, yo, go talk to Jeff. And that was the first sale I ever made. I think it was like $1,800. I was so afraid of charging it that we did it by text message. And he said, yes. I was like, holy shit, I just made a sale, right? And I did that
without the sales
10,
call too.
15. Correct, yeah. Closing by chat, right?
Yeah.
And we
ahead of your time.
So I must have, Yeah, exactly right. So I must have done that like 5, 10, 15 times. But the problem with websites is nobody's really happy with their website. Like they'll
Yeah.
buy one and then 3 months later, like this looks like shit. And they don't really like buy more. Like you can argue
Mhm.
about maintenance plans if you want, but nobody's going to buy more websites, right? They're like, I got one, maybe two of, I'm done, right?
Yeah.
So after that, I was like, I don't know what to do, but at least like I feel confident in something. And for some reason, I changed my job title on Facebook to digital marketer. And then it was Dan Henry 1,000 times a day. I must have watched his webinar 1,000 times. Each time signed up. Got the 6-day soap opera sequence. Watched the webinar again. I could recite that thing by fucking memory. Like I remember the
Yeah.
photo of him bent over in front of a statue as a pizza boy delivers. Like, oh my fucking god! Like that moment, I remember. Like I was there, right?
Yeah.
And I paid and I bought my last 997. It wasn't actually my last 997, but it felt like it was
Yeah.
because it was the first time I bet on myself, which is a whole other fucking bag of cats. Like the problem with betting on yourself is that if you win, it's on you, but if you lose, it's on you. And it's the first
Mhm.
time you get to say it's all on me, right? As opposed to
Yeah.
like betting on a sports team or getting to say that it's someone else's corporate thing or I got passed over from a promotion because my boss. Like it's all like external stuff. When you bet on yourself, it's you. So if you lose,
Mhm.
it's on fucking you. But if you win, it's on you too. So it's like it's much more fun.
Yeah.
But I paid that 997 for the webinar. It was on a Starbucks in Bird Road, 117th Avenue, Miami, Florida. And every once in a while, I'll drive by it going, God damn, my life has transformed. And inside of that program, he says, you need to do your curious student. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to bet on myself. And I did the curious student. And I was so afraid that it was going to fail. And I was so afraid it was going to work that I published it. And then 5 seconds later, I was so afraid of it. I went to the post and I clicked hide. Like I hit the post. It's still there. Okay. I hit it. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. If it works, I'm unprepared, like that type of feeling.
Yeah.
So I went through his course, learned about
And
funnels and
sorry to interrupt. For those that don't know what the curious student is, it's like, hey, I'm learning about digital marketing. I'd love to help you. I'm taking on a free trial or a paid trial or whatever, right?
yeah, like everyone's got their own derivatives of it, but that's like 80, 90% close. And you can switch out Facebook ads for whatever tool you feel like playing around with. And now I do a paid version of that called a Mad Lib, but correct, right? And I made that post. I hit it. I got afraid of it. Started learning about landing pages, how to like do stuff, like some type of skill set. And then 30 days later, I did my curious student. And then that's when I started getting responses, right? They were by far the worst clients. But at that moment, they were the best.
Yeah.
And that's what kicked off the journey. So, yeah.
And those were like friends and family.
Friends and family, friends and friends of family and family, like that network extended out. Some strangers on there, which is pretty interesting. But that was, holy shit, it could work. Like that feeling of this might actually happen type of thing. And I still get that feeling when I see my own 2 steps kick in. I still get that feeling when I got when I do a blast in my email list and replies come in, like that type of stuff. It's absolutely nuts. But yeah, that was the start.
So then you ran the agency simultaneously with the coaching program for like 5 years, and you still do.
Correct. No, we got rid of all the dentists. I was like, I'm going to take a break, right, from like done for you work. I still have a medical research clinic. I've got a plumber, chiropractor. I've got a fitness guy and a maps. I do maps as a service. But like, there's no more dentists anymore, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to try something different. And now we're playing around with VSLs, which are just equally as fun. But for 5 years, I ran the agency and the coaching program at the same time, which I could do because I didn't have kids, because I rented, I didn't have a dog. All I did was work, like that type of stuff, right? So I had time, you know what I mean? And then the coaching program, we had calls on Friday. And then every time I learned something in my agency, I just released it into the coaching program, which was cool in the beginning. Now looking back, that meant I actually needed a separate program because the initial 6 modules turned into like 750 modules. Like it just kept adding on, which meant if you were good and you kept up, it was cool. but also
Yeah.
meant if you were lost or you were new, you just got overwhelmed, right?
Yeah.
But every time we learned something in the agency, we rolled it out into the coaching program, which meant things like sneaky surveys and welcome text and soap opera sequences, reply to confirms, direct offers, product and price ads, Mad Lib ads, brand videos, 90-second videos, like all those things that I did in my tiny little market became part of the coaching program, and then eventually became part of the Ask Fam, the public group, and then somehow became like an industry standard. Like everybody's running sneaky surveys now, and everybody's running welcome text, and everybody's doing soap opera sequences like they should, right? And now, as a standard agency kickstart, they are doing product and price ads. I was like, this is fucking great, right? But yeah, that was it. I read both simultaneously, and then COVID hit. I was like, all right, it's time to like, really like double down. I said I'm gonna do dentists, and then we grew to 50 dentists, and then I really realized that I don't want to do this like high ticket stuff. Sorry, I realized I didn't want to do high ticket stuff. I did ECS price points. We grew to 50 dentists. It was me and like 3 operators. And then I did the agency BTS, which was 297. It was a 40-page document, 2-hour class. We sold like 50 grand of that thing in a week. And I was like, holy shit, another like brain breaking moment. Right.
Yeah.
And we called it the live transfer model, which I got from Anthony Mann, who came in and taught in one of my programs. But yeah, I ran both simultaneously, which gives you gray hairs, but at least you don't have to worry about money. So
Yeah. That's for sure. So you were just kind of doing still Miami Facebook ads guy stuff until 2020, which is when, if I remember correctly, you partnered with somebody and grew to 50 dentists, correct?
Correct. So my business partner at the time, we were another agency coaching program, which shall remain unnamed, but if you know, you know. And the whole thing was very Alex Hormozy style, which is like high pressure close, max the cart, risk reversal, that type of thing. And I was like, all right, what's the worst that could happen? Fine, right? So we'd run the ads, and then we get on the phone, and we'd have a setter, we'd have a closer, we'd have like the whole staff, right? And we started closing dentists at like $3,500 a month. We started doing $10,000 a day. I was like, oh, this is the fucking dream. This is fucking cool. And then fulfillment kicks in, and then you're like, fuck me in the face. Like, holy shit. Like, we made a whole lot of promises that we can't possibly deliver. And I was like, wow, this is like probably the worst model I've ever experienced. And everybody's going to say otherwise. I get it. I'm just describing my fucking journey. Okay. Everybody's going to say it works. I know it works. It just didn't work for me. Leave me alone. Okay. And so when we were doing that model, we'd sign a dentist on at like $3,500 a month, and it would take 2 fucking weeks for this thing to kick on. And then the 2 weeks would kick in, and then all of a sudden renewal kick in, and they'll say, why are you charging me again? It's only been 2 weeks. It's like, well, it's because you kept delaying the meeting, buddy. And they're like, well, too fucking bad. And then we get a lead, and then they would freak out because the lead came in, but the lead didn't pick up the phone. It's like, well, stop doing that. We're going to do it. They're like, well, you sent a notification. It's like, that's just fucking notification. So that was confusing. And then we'd have somebody no show, and then they lose their shit. I'm like, holy fuck. Like, no company runs shop this way. Like, not a single one. So after running that model for maybe like a year, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, there's something broken here. So I started asking dentists what they actually wanted. Like, I went to a conference, I talked to them like human beings. And I said, what do you want? And how much do you want to pay for it? Because a good entrepreneur recognizes product market opportunity, price point, and says, I got to go build it, right? Not build it and sell it. You sell it, then you build it. Like, you talk to your customers first type of thing, customer research style. And they were like, look, we want somebody to run the ads, and I want that price point in the ad. I don't want to talk to somebody who can't pay for it. Like, done. And they're like, I don't want these leads. I don't want them in my CRM. I don't want them coming in. Nothing like that. Like, cool, done. They're like, I want them calling my front desk. And then they, that's another level qualification filter. I said, done. Right. So then I realized that there's no distinct advantage in teaching tech to front desks that would never show up to the meeting and having those tech calls. I realized that no dentist would ever listen to me on how to build a business, even if I was right, because I'm not a dentist. I'm not their senior. So there's no point in having these like business development calls. It's like, all right, I'm only going to do what they want. So the next sales call, I said, look, this is what we're not going to do. We're not going to go ahead and send you leads. We're not going to train your staff. And the guy was like laughing the whole time. He's like, this is fucking perfect. That is everything I don't want. I said, now I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to run the ad on my own Facebook page that we own. So I'm not going to request access to anything. They go, that's amazing. I said, number two, we're going to handle and manage all the leads. So they're not going to go to CRM. So we're going to filter and qualify the bad leads as they go perfect. And then number three, my staff will get them on the phone, qualify them based upon their ability to pay, how fast they want to buy, and if they live nearby. And then we're going to live transfer them to your front desk, and then your front desk does whatever they want. They said, cool. I was like, it's going to be $1,000 a month. They said, all right. And they paid the same day and the next day. It's like, oh, okay, this is the fucking gym. Because now our return on ad spend was within like 3 or 4 days, sometimes 24 to 48 hours, not 6 weeks of fucking following up where the fortune's in the follow-up, right? The fortune's in fucking product market fit. Thank you very much, right? So we were getting return on ad spend super fast. The campaigns would go live in 30 minutes. Expectations were super low. And they're like, this is the fucking jam. And they'd get like 1 or 2 shows. And they go, this is everything we've on. And it's like, thank you very much, right? I would only get 2 or 3 sales calls a week. That's one every other day. It's very low pressure, no big deal. Half the time, I would text them and say, how about I call you on your drive back? They say, thank you. I said, look, Sundays are better for me. They say, cool. I'll call you when I'm at a barbecue. Like that type of thing. I said, look, there's no decks. All right. Like the contract is 7 letters or 7 lines on a proposal, 7 points on a proposal. And the fee is, $1,000 a month. They're like, all right, let's talk. I was like, holy shit. Like they know the price before I even talk to them. This is even better. And then I started putting my price point in the ad. And that's when everything became like just, the opposite of being busy. That's what it felt like. Just the opposite of being busy. So it was crazy interesting. I had to experiment with like self-restraint on like, the devil's in the hands type of thing. Like you want to like touch stuff. Now you just don't touch anything. And the machine just worked. So it was crazy cool. And then I would say the fee, I'd be on the barbecue, like, hey, I'm going to be on a barbecue. Like, I'll call you on Sunday. I'm like, great. Just casual, no big deal, no sales deck, no Zoom, nothing like that. Half the time they were like, I'm kind of like suspicious. I was like, yeah, this is just to review the paperwork. I'm going to Zoom you tomorrow at the same time. We'll double check everything. And if you're okay with it, we'll exchange dollars, money, and time and go live. And they're like, this is really cool. And that very easy, yes, high margin, low volume lifestyle is like the opposite of busy. Like I was just sitting in a quiet room going, what am I supposed to do with my life now? And it was nuts. Like I'd pick up habits. Like I would go for runs, right? Or I'd go to the gym. I'd lose a lot of weight. Like this is the fucking dream, right? Looking back, I didn't realize how drastic and different this model was from everybody else. But I did realize it was the model that every serious business employs. Like no business has these massive, super high pressure sales expectations. They focus on their product. So it was a very interesting experience. But that's the basics of it. Yeah.
And not to mention the customness that's required in the traditional SMMA model. Like it's just not sustainable. And if you want a life outside of your agency, at some point it's just got to be plug and play, or you got to be charging
even a life inside of your agency.
Yeah,
correct. Right. It's like it's so like I think every industry or business has the how do I get out experience, right? Which you just hinted at. But even having like a life inside of your agency where like you're happy with your stuff and you're not always like trying to fix problems and stuff just works and people are happy, like that is empowering and motivating, as opposed to the I have to do this again feeling like you're clocking into your job and you're like, man, I traded 9 to 5 for 5 to 9, right? But yeah, the abandoning of custom work and learning how to say no, which was difficult in the beginning, and saying, no, I don't do braces. I don't do teeth whitening. I don't do leads. I don't do all the things you don't like, right? I don't do all that. I only do implants, or I only do all on force. And that, looking back, was the evolution of not ads as a service, but advertising a specific product, right? So instead of saying, hey, dentist, you want more leads, or dentists who want more patients, or dentists who want more blank, dentists who want an ROI. We're all taught to advertise the end result, right? I'm saying I only advertise implants. And all of a sudden, in their eyes, that made me more qualified. But also, in my eyes, that led me to focus on stuff.
Yeah.
And that was very interesting. It's kind of like what we tell our clients of like, find a niche, right? Well, a niche is not just saying I'd sell real estate. A niche is I sell real estate to super ultra high net worth individuals that looking to diversify their blah, blah, blah. Or selling real estate is I help first time home buyers that just have 2 kids, like that type of like client avatar stuff. So I said, I'm going to do the same for my clients. So I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm an advertising agency, not good enough. I'm an advertising agency that does dentists, not good enough. Advertising agency that does dentists, that advertises implants using product and price ads, or charges this amount. Like I just kept going and going and going. And then that shit all of a sudden fucking worked. Like I could advertise that and it worked. The cool part is if you go down that journey and you advertise it doesn't work, you can just change it. You're not really committed. All you do is spend 30 minutes fleshing it out and throwing it into an ad and seeing what sticks. But a lot of people have this like overcommitment in the incorrect direction. Instead of trying to segment their journey and say for freshman year, this is the signal that I'm going for. For sophomore year, this is the signal I'm going for. For junior, instead they're trying to say, this is my $1 billion opportunity. Like, no, man, you ain't there yet. Okay. You ain't anywhere fucking close. You need to be looking at like $100,000 opportunity or $1 million opportunity. And I'll talk to a lot of people that go like, hey, is this niche big enough? I go, could you make $100,000 in it? And they're like, yeah. I was like, man, it's fucking big enough right now. Okay. Like calm the fuck down and realize that you're only 3 months into this game. But that's the philosophy. And now as I approach like my 8th or 9th year, coming up on my 10th, probably next year, now I actually can have real meaningful conversations about client demand as a service or demand gen as a service. So that's where you'll see people that I won't, if I name them, it will be disparagingly, so I won't. You will see people that say, hey, my agency helps other agencies make money. Like that type of line of thinking, right? I now feel like I'm qualified to say my business's job is to now generate you customers. I've been doing this shit for 10 years. I have industry experience across almost every single vertical, every single channel. I've got thousands of case studies. I've been doing this shit long enough. Let's boogie, right? And that's probably going to be VSLs as a service. So now I can do VSLs for other businesses and make them more money. And now shit will spin up. But a lot of people do their best to try to skip as many steps as possible. And sometimes I feel like the only fucking guy in the space saying, can we just slow everything down? Like, can we just stare at this for a bit and figure out the finities and the fixings? And I remember talking to Joel Irway, who I deeply respect, and 2 or 3 other people. And they were like, Jeff, you're just staring at a Canva image and typing things in. I was like, that's my whole fucking jam, son. Like my whole career has come down to writing things in a blue square, right? That's it. And I'll go through this exercise with some people. It's like, you have 7 to 10 words to put something on an ad that gets someone interested in buying, you have to sell, go for it. And they're just staring at this saying, I can't fit it all in 5 to 7 words. I was like, then you're not going to fucking run an ad, right? Like
and
have some space, have some breath.
Sorry, people that don't know what Jeff's talking about, product and price ads is like, hey, Des Moines, braces, $4,500, click here. That's simple.
That's it.
Blue
that's a fucking ad. Correct. And then there's an argument about variations like blue, red, or white. Or instead of Des Moines, you would say like a different city. And in Miami, there's like Miami, there's Coral Gables. You could say moms and dads. But like having that and saying, my answer is here, not everywhere else. The answer is here, allows for deep brain thinking, which I think is very lacking in modern day society. Plus, if you figure that shit out, you can then start to only target people who want to buy stuff, not people who want to be on a list. That means your campaigns will get an ROI. That means your clients will get buyers and shows. Then you'll have a happy client. If you are optimizing for your own level of dopamine or your own level of it's outside of the box or something else, you're going to say, but we got 10,000 people on the list and you got to follow up with them. Like, you're going to fucking lose a client. Nobody wants that shit. I don't care if you think you're right, because you're not. Nobody wants a fucking list of 1,000 people where you just got to follow up all day long. Nobody. But I'll tell you what they do want. They want 30 buyers.
Yep.
So write an ad as such. But that's part of like trying to understand what customers want and that type of thing.
Yeah. So you're not doing the live transfer model with the implants anymore, right?
No, not at all. After 50 dentists, I was like, okay, I fucking got this shit figured out. Time to move on to another vertical. And then the agency BTS was like my going away party. I was like, here's everything. I'm out. I'm taking a breather for a while. Like, I'm married. Okay. I bought a house. I'm in my late 30s. Everybody calm the fuck down. Okay. Like, this is the going away. This is the Black Album, right? We sold, it's got to be 3,800 copies of that sucker so far. Yeah. And every time I turn on ads, it sells 5 to 10 times a day. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what did you tell the clients? Same thing? Or did you give them
it was a very interesting conversation. No, some of them fought me on like, no, you're not fucking firing us. You're not saying goodbye. Yeah. It's like, I gotta let you go. I got it. They're like, no, we either prepaid you and we don't want the money back, or this campaign is working, or I hate you. Like, it was generally like 80% of them were like positive. 20% didn't care or wanted to let go of me anyway. But I was having like really good conversations. There was a guy in Michigan, this bald Middle Eastern dude that I just got along culturally like very, very well. That type of stuff. And whenever I spoke with him, I never felt like he was taking advantage of me. And when he spoke with me, it never felt like I was taking advantage of him. Like, it just felt like a fair deal, right?
Yeah.
And I said, like, hey, I gotta let you go. I'm transforming. Like, I'm moving on to a different thing. He's like, damn, right? A year and a half later, I'm talking to one of the old guys who's in the IC. His name is Shanta. He's like, I want to let you know that client still remembers you. I was like, fuck yeah, right? Like, that's what we're talking about. So the vast majority were like, God damn it. But it was just a couple of phone calls, a couple of emails, let the contracts go, let them expire, or introduce to somebody that could take care of them. I'm sure they're very, very happy. But it was like, it felt like I was saying goodbye. And some of them stuck around, right? Some of them were like, no, we're still going to pay you, keep the thing running. So it didn't like end, right? As sharp as I tell people. It was like a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, and then some of them accelerate and stuff like that.
I see.
I had 2 dentists that just stayed forever. They were just happy. I still have a medical research client who is still happy. I have a plumber, chiropractor, a tax accountant, and a couple others. So there's still like some done for you. Like, I feel like it helps keep me honest sometimes.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But yeah, it was interesting because like I've never felt a client go, no fucking way you're letting me go. I've never had anybody say that to me. So that felt very validating. So yeah, it was very, very cool.
One hot take you had in the agency BTS, which I went through, was don't follow up. Don't increase your Twilio bill.
Yeah.
Like, if people have money who have jobs, and therefore, if they're interested, they'll respond to you. How many? And you just posted something about this yesterday as well, which I didn't read the whole message. But I want to get your official take on this. I want you to go on record against the people who say that lead nurture is everything. And how many times did you follow up when you had the operators, which would call the leads, text the leads? And what's the general philosophy behind that?
So the problem with follow-up is that when you do it, you don't like it. When it's done to you, you don't like it. It's a one-to-one. It's a manual process. It's prone to breaking. It requires 2 people to make it work. Like, I wrote down like a series of bullet points. I was like, this is why follow-up sucks. And follow-up sucks because of those steps, right? Like, it just doesn't feel great to follow up. And everybody's going to fucking fight me on it. And there's somebody that's going to, and they're like, one guy who's clearly good at his job was like, I'm in the M&A field. And, some of these deals take 2-3 years. I was like, oh, you're right. Fine. 1 out of 100 people. But every other person, you know what I mean? It's like, what am I going to do? So yes, he's right. And welcome to truth, which is everybody's got a different version of it. So here's how we would do it. So they would sign up. They would lead in, landing page, whatever it is. And then we would send them a welcome text. They should reply to the welcome text. If they didn't reply to the welcome text, automatically 15 minutes later, hey, did you get the message above? If nobody replies, there's an automatic soap opera sequence. Cool. Follow-up is taken care of. As needed, if all of a sudden we were low on volume or whatever, I do a reactivation that says something along the lines of, hey, we're doing a thingy. Are you interested? Hey, last call, that type of stuff. But it wasn't a, yo, here are all your leads, go follow up with them type of follow-up. It wasn't that Grant Cardone boiler room, like manual follow-up process. We had the text messages, that was a two thingy, and then the soap opera sequences, and as necessary, we would reactivate the list. But having said that, a lot of people are going to say, but you're following up. I'm like, yeah, fuck you, okay? Like the problem, the reason with follow-up is it's one-on-one, reactivations are not, that it's a manual process, automations are not, and all that. The challenge is that follow-up by itself only deals with people who are not going to buy. And then you got to fight them on it, right? Yeah. So at the most, you're optimizing a suboptimal process. And then you're trying to make small incremental improvements. So everything I just said is a small incremental improvement. It's not taking shit to gold. It's taking shit and making it smell a little bit bad, a little bit less bad. Yeah. That's what it is, right? Small 1 or 2%. So I think the future is going to be not manual processes as a follow-up and not automations as a follow-up or any of the follow-up. I think it's going to be brand as a follow-up and asset as a follow-up. So brand as a follow-up is something that we all know, we've all experienced. Nobody's ever said brand as a follow-up though. So when you're famous on Instagram and you've got a personality, and when you're Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or something like that is a brand as a follow-up. So when you're looking to buy a Tesla, the Tesla guy doesn't call you like every 14 fucking days or every 3.5 days or stick with some script that will all of a sudden make you buy. It's not going to happen. What's going to happen is Elon Musk says some shit, and you're like, I should go buy a Tesla. That's what happens. When you think about buying stuff from anybody, and you got to fucking follow up, you fucking hate that shit. But all of a sudden, you remember the brand or the person that reminds you to buy, and it just so happens that's through a salesperson. That's what I'm talking about with brand as a follow-up. So when I do my IG stories, when I post on my IG, when I said some stuff on Facebook, when I'm just running ads as normal, that's brand as a follow-up. And I don't have salespeople, but if I did, what would happen is a buyer who's not buying would all of a sudden see the ad and get notched significantly up. Mm-hmm. And you can do that correctly by having a conversation, IG story, post, stuff like that, purposefully, and this is called making an asset, purposely that breaks somebody's objections. So this is what I would do with dentists. I know that a huge chunk are not going to buy. They would never buy. If they did, we'd be flustered and frustrated with me following up with them 24/7, 365. I could buy all the golden follow-up steps that I want. I could do all the ghost gifts that I want. I could do all the scripts that I want. No, man, it ain't going to fucking happen. Okay? That's just follow-up. I'm not building an asset. But if, for whatever reason, I get out of my own fucking head and realize that all this shit is follow-up right here, and I write a 14-page document called the 5 sales and marketing levers that help dentists make an extra $55,000 this coming Mother's Day. Oh, now we're in business. And I write it all out. I flesh it out. I do what these guys are doing to me. And all of a sudden I run that as an ad. Or I send a reactivation saying, hey, we just released this thing. We're going to sell for $97. Did you want to take a freebie look at it? If so, reply yes. And now I'm making an asset. And when I go live on my Instagram saying, hey, we've got an asset. Or when I create an IG video specifically pre-conquering somebody's objections with an asset. That's what we're talking about with an asset, right? So now I can say, hey, Mr. Johnson, I know you didn't want to buy for XYZ reason. We've made this asset for dentists just like you. Take a look. That's fucking follow-up. Not this bullshit ghost gift script, call them back 82 times in 36 seconds. That's not fucking follow-up. That's some shit fucking follow-up, but if it is, you're not building an asset, you're not building a brand, you're not building processes, you're not building something that's significant that grows over time. One-on-one, one to many. Requires 2 people, requires 1. That type of stuff. So the follow-up as a genre, everybody keeps thinking this is required. My goal is to say there's a different type of follow-up that doesn't stick to those rules. There's a different type of follow-up that is the one to many. There's a different type of follow-up that is incremental over time, that breaks people's beliefs and says there's nuts. So that is branding as a follow-up, and then asset as a follow-up. Everyone's going to say the name's weird or there's a different reason for it. Fine, fuck you, change your name. I don't care. But having some type of thing that you've created not only allows for better follow up, but allows for progress. And
Yeah.
building a brand as a thing allows for better follow up, which is one to many, and allows for better things to happen over time. So that's the difference. So yeah, I'm like very much against follow up because it requires a manual process, because it's prone to breaking, there's all that shit. And the last sales call I was on, I said, "You're gonna love how I hate following up with you," and they laughed. I was like, "Look, I'm not gonna follow up at all. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to tag you on a marketing asset that's gonna break your brain, show you what's possible, and make you happy that you want to spend money with me. What do you say?" They go, "Cool." So I tag them, and then they follow me. And then that's the whole fucking game. That's branding, right? And then when I release an asset that's specifically designed as such, they go, "Yeah, that's what I'm talking about." I was like, "That's the fucking follow." That makes them happy to buy. That's the line of thinking right there.
And it's interesting because the follow up, like when you couch it this way, you're just saying, "Hey, how did you get a chance to think about this thing that we've already talked about that you haven't made a decision about?" Like it's just inherently like so low authority, and instead you
It
just hit them
sucks.
with, you hit them with like, "Hey, I actually know what I'm talking about, and I
Yeah.
don't have time to sit here and follow up with you or the other people that I've talked to. So why don't you just all take this thing that demonstrates my expertise, and then, if
Correct.
you want to work
Yeah.
together, we can."
So you need to be building those expertise things, not letting stuff die when they don't open their text message. I was at a sales call
Yeah.
early today, price point $9,800. I was like, "You call me on Tuesday." He's like, "I'm not going to call you for shit." I was like, "Thank fucking God." Okay, great. Like, I don't want to follow up. Like, we don't want to play this game. Nobody does, right? He's like, either you buy now or you buy later. I was like, "Yeah, that's fucking fair." I was like, fucking perfect. So when I'm having conversations with a done for you client, right? And they say no, I say, "I get it. I'm not going to fucking objection handle you or follow up with you. I'm just going to show you an asset and I'll send you one. And you should follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And then we'll take it from there." Which, by the way, Instagram's only job, this is what people do on Instagram. They follow somebody because they're like, "I may eventually buy their stuff." That's what fucking
So
happens.
true.
So when you follow
So
Taylor
true.
Swift, what you're saying, right, "I may buy their stuff eventually." When you follow Kanye West or whatever the fuck, all your followers, those are people that you're interested in buying from. So that is how people do it nowadays. Nobody says, "Oh, thank God I got a text message from that sales guy that said I wasn't interested in." They don't do that shit, right? So when you are correctly navigating the social media
Mhm.
ocean and creating assets that build over time and creating a brand that builds over time, you've got an A plus no matter what. So
Yeah.
that's the difference. So that's why I wrote that post, to break people's brains and say, stop doing this shit. Like, you're trying to automate shit. Instead of doing shit, you should do something useful and start building assets and build a brand. And then all of a sudden, you don't have to follow up anymore at all,
Yeah.
at all. And then
Yeah.
good stuff happens. So yeah,
I have to pull this out because you mentioned it. I just got a follow-up text today from Elon Musk himself. Just kidding, Tesla. Um,
yeah.
and here, this is why this was 2 minutes before we got on this call. Tesla, for a limited time, get a 90.99% APR on Model Y or lease from $299 a month after $100 a month. Estimated gas savings. Design yours, and then it's got the link.
Yeah.
And this ends on this day.
Yeah.
That's different than, like, that's a proper reactivation. Like, we actually have something different than when you first came in, and check it out.
Mhm.
And that could be your asset, that could be a special or whatever else you're doing. And that's the purpose of a list,
Correct.
not, a week later begging them to talk
like
to
you
because
went
don't have
in,
enough
you
calls.
submitted your information. Let's say you talked to the Tesla salesperson. You got a
Mhm.
text message from the Tesla salesperson saying you're still interested. Obviously, no, fuck you. Okay. Or he's going to do something interesting where he bought some type of like NLP course where he's like, "Is there anything
Yeah.
stopping you? Is this project dead? What are your thoughts?"
Mhm.
Question mark, ghost gift. All fucking derivatives of shit trying to be slightly improved. Right.
Yeah.
It's not going to work out the way you think
Yeah.
at all. So yeah, that's a good
So
example.
In the local business context, do you have any data? Like, I generate 10 leads. I have operators behind the scenes calling the leads and live transferring them. Out of 10,
Mhm.
how many are actually going to get live transferred?
So
And
out of
how
10,
much follow
7 are
up?
trash.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So out of 10, out of 100 leads on the internet, 70% are trash. Just understand that. Out of 10, 7 are trash. They're fake, fraudulent bots. They're not real. Do not have any expectation of them at all whatsoever. Your job is to find the 3. That's it. You can do that with welcome text, sneaky survey, soap opera sequence, all that shit. Right? There's
Yeah.
an argument if like you're using Google, it's quote unquote higher. Facebook, it's quote unquote lower. TikTok, who the fuck knows? Pinterest, Nextdoor, all the other social media channels. It's 7 out of 10. Just 7 out of 10. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm trying
Yeah.
to find the 3 out of 10. The 3 out of 10, when done correctly, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say when you generate them, you send a welcome text, and then your team isn't like they aren't phoning them within 30 seconds, are they? It's kind of like
No,
at
no.
their leisure. Like what's the first few follow-up steps for those 3?
In the BTS, I say the way of working is your team only replies to the people who have replied. That's it. So if they say yes, cool. You can text them back. You can do a phone call. You can plug in your AI powered chatbot automation, many chat flow, whatever the fuck, right? You're only talking to responsive people. If you talk to everybody, you're going to get spammed. You're going to get A2P rejected. You're going to everything's going to ruin your shit. And what's going to happen is you're going to be part of a process that's going to fail. And you being part of that will make it fail faster. As an example,
Yeah.
when you call too many people on your phone, it starts to show spam likely, which means fewer people pick up, which means you tell your operator to call more people, which causes it to call more. That's what happens, right? If you're only calling and texting the people that replied, you don't got to worry about that no more. That's it.
Yeah.
So out of 10, 7 will be trash. 3 will be good enough for a follow up. Of the 3, you should have one person show. That show is usually in a week. So that means out of 10 leads you generate on Friday, you should have one person show within 7 days. That's the line of thinking. And show could be you go to them or they go to you for that type of stuff. Yeah. So whatever your cost per lead is on Facebook, add a 0.
Okay.
And then you'll get a show.
For anyone thinking that Jeff is talking out of his ass right now, I have $250,000 of ad spend that prove exactly what he just said, and it's actually two out
Oh
of
shit.
10. Yeah, 2 out of 10 and one.
There
show.
you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like a client with the proper brand as a follow up typically is going to be able to push the 30%, and on the opposite end of the spectrum, the client that can't do that will probably be closer to the 10%.
Correct. So we've got a couple of really good use cases. We got agencies that are doing roofers right now, and the roofers have like no brand, no conversation. Their product sucks. The price point sucks. So not only are they getting fewer leads, they're getting fewer responses.
Yeah.
Welcome to fucking business, bro. Be a better business person. We've got roofers that are statewide, okay, that have great price points, great brands, okay. They approve stuff quickly. They're just good businesses, and they are good businesses that allows for money to happen. So they will have better numbers. They'll have cheaper cost per lead. They'll have a higher show rate or something like that. But what's really interesting, and this is either a self-reflection for you and me or everybody watching this now until the end of time. It's not the money that makes the habits. It's the habits that make the money. So if you are a good business builder and business owner with great habits, you will get money eventually. If you are a bad business owner with bad habits, nothing will ever fucking work for you ever. Ever. So it's the equivalent of saying, here's a great example. Lizzo could never lose weight ever. I don't care how many gyms she goes to. It's not going to fucking happen. It's not because of the gym. Okay. It's because of what she fucking eats. She dances 8 hours a day. She's still overweight. That's just how it is. It's not because of the gym. And I'll talk to plumbers. I'll talk to hard-nosed tow truck drivers who will yell when we do a live transfer. Who the fuck do you think you were calling at me at this time? I don't care. Like, there's a fucking client on the phone. There's somebody who wants to pay you money. What the fuck is wrong with you? That habit will always make them poor.
Yeah.
No matter what. But if they had a good habit, all of a sudden they become wildly successful. And that's why those roofers that I mentioned earlier will be successful almost no matter what for generations because of their habits. that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we hop off, what's your take on the SaaS model? Like pure SaaS, white label, high level, maybe throw in Apex.
Yeah. I think the challenge with that is that everybody does SaaS to make money. That's the same bucket of people that did agency to make money, which is the same bucket of people that did affiliate to make money. And I'm not saying you can't make money, but it shouldn't be your goal. I'm saying you should have a goal first, right? Like if your goal is saying, I will create a CRM that enables my clients to be more responsive, and I just happen to charge for it, cool. Then it could work. I think most people go with that completely incorrectly. And they're like, I'll just sell my clients this stuff. I'm like, okay, fine, dude. Do the fucking mistake that I told you not to make, right? And then what happens is they will say, this is a very difficult process. There are many buttons to click. This is confusing and difficult. I'll find software to fix it. I go, nope, that's wrong. You need to make your processes simpler, make them faster, make them higher quality, and then you can have software. But most people don't do that shit. So the biggest learning with the BTS was that you could go live in 30 minutes. Am I right or wrong?
Well, 100%.
I was like, holy shit, I didn't know I could go live in 30 minutes. I didn't use software to do that, right? I didn't use some magic thing. I said, I'm going to remove a bunch of processes that are unnecessary.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and simplify everything as possible. When you do that, everything works. And then you just happen to use software. And you just happen to use SaaS. You just happen to use software server, GHL, whatever it is. But if you're trying to take a complicated, difficult, challenging, opaque, unclear situation and just say, I'm going to sell a solution and slap a name on it, the chances of success of that are so damn low, I could never endorse that as a line of thinking. What I could endorse is if you say, I'm going to accurately diagnose my clients' conversations and questions and problems. I'm going to present a very simple solution in front of them. And this process will work fast, and they can make it very, very faster with software, or they can increase quality with software or reduce their costs with software. That type of shit. That's gold. That's fucking gold. But if you're going in saying, you know, I can't sell agency stuff, so I'll sell software. I can't sell ads, so I'll sell this. It's not going to work out the way you think. Yeah. Yes. I got people now. We just did an AI conversational bot in one of my programs. And a guy came in, he's like, you could do this shit in 15 minutes. I was like, that's fucking right. 15 minutes or less, that's what we're talking about. And then somebody else says, could I sell this? I was like, that's not what we're fucking talking about, right? What problem will this solve for your clients and your customers? You figure that shit out, and now all of a sudden that's your outline, that's your ad. Like that can be your product, right? This bot will follow up with all of your leads forever for only $97 a month. Like that's a fucking ad, right? That solves people's problems. But if you're coming in saying, I'll just white label an AI conversational bot and that'll be my ad. No, man. Like you got to talk about people's problems. And despite me saying that, like I mentioned before, every time I do a fucking interview, there's been one fucking comment that was like, I did the opposite and it worked. It's like, thank you. You're welcome. Go pay your taxes. I'm talking middle 80% of my success, right? Yeah. Not the 10% outliers in either direction.
Yeah. Jeff Millers, ladies and gentlemen, thanks, man.
Cool, man. Anytime.
Where can people connect with you if they want to?
Facebook is fun. Instagram is more fun. Jeff Miller Marketing. I do Q&As probably once a week. People ask questions and I do a recorded reply. Those are super fun. And then I'm pretty good at documenting the new phase of my journey where I'm talking about client demand or demand gen as a service. So we're talking about that too. But yeah, like once a week, like people just ask questions. We got one going on right now. And then there must be 20, 30 questions every time I do it. And just do recorded video replies for everybody.
Love it. Great way. Thanks so much, Jeff. We'll see you next time.
You got it.